What's up, everyone? Ron Carter here. Special guest, Brian Marsolais.
Yeah. All right. I love being special guest.
You're special, bro.
Yeah, I'm special. All right.
But this is the Mind Design Podcast. I think I've already said that, but this is episode like 19, I think.
Is it
18,
19?
19. We're on, I think it's 19. Um, so we only have about 10 minutes today. It's not going to be an extra long one. Um, Brian and I were talking right before this, talking about a lot of stuff, appliance repair, and Brian has an electrical business, and I figured that this would be fitting to continue the conversation while we recorded, Brian, because we talk about goals, right? A lot on this podcast, and like
Yeah.
taking small steps sequentially to achieve them, right?
Yeah,
And I,
absolutely. Taking action to achieve your goals.
right, right. And so I know that one of your goals has been um, to be able to step, I wouldn't say away from, but more out of the day to day in your electrical business, right?
Yeah, a little how should I say this? Being off the field. And I just want to get to running the business, seeing the clients, billing out the
Okay.
jobs, instead of covering for people who are absent that day or just trying to get a little bit off the field. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I think you can relate to that, right? What I'm saying,
Yeah.
like getting off the job itself, physically pulling wire, physically doing tasks in the electrical department.
Gotcha. So, what do you feel like it would take not to incrementally make that happen? Because a lot of times we think, okay, how can I like incrementally get myself off the field?
Mm.
But
Well,
let's
that's
say, but this is what we ask ourselves a lot of times, right? But I think the more empowering way to think about this, and what I'd like to ask is, what would it take for you to, let's say, never have to go into the field again? Like, what would you need in the business to do that you don't have right now?
you know, I great question. I think either you're going to downsize, possibly, or you're going to bring a guy on just to handle everything that I do on the field.
Okay, why would downsizing? I'm just curious, right? Because I don't really know. Why
Yeah,
would
well,
why would
if we're
downsizing help you get
if
there?
yeah, well, for me, it wouldn't help. Obviously, it wouldn't help my employees, but by
Right.
downsizing, now I'm not taking on as much, gives
Uh
which will
that
give more, you know what I mean? So instead of doing so much a year, you're going to do a lot less, which keeps my guys going, hopefully, right? But it
gotcha.
takes me right out of that.
So you mean downsizing opportunity, not
Right.
downsizing employees.
Yep,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Okay.
Keep the same core light in the load. But here's the challenge with a service business, electrical business. You always take on everything. That's just nature of, being in business for the last 30 years, no matter who you are. You always take it all on because you're worried about hitting a drought, right? You're worried about all of a sudden what if the work dries up a little, or what if I miss a couple bids, or so what happens is now you've got guys, okay, where am I going to put them?
Mm,
So it's a fine line there. Um, like one of the things that I did this year is I started taking Fridays off. And what I did is I told the guys in charge, the project managers, I would say, look, I'm taking Friday off. I'm taking every Friday off. But this was the thing that really helped me. I told them, don't call me unless you have three solutions to your problem. and then you can call me all day if you can't figure it out after that. So it empowered them to figure out things before they called me, which was nice for me because my phone's not, ringing off the hook.
Right.
Okay. So that was one of the things that I did. So any business owner, if you want to take say a day off every week, which actually gives you about 2 months off a year, right? It gives you 52 extra days off a year is what it does. So, basically anyone can do it, but you got to be rigid with it and you have to tell your people, please don't call me unless it's a real emergency and try to find three solutions to the challenge you're having before you call me. See how that works?
Right. So,
And like for me, I don't think retirement is a great idea for me just because I like keeping my mind going all the time. Um, so I think, maybe in another 6 months, okay, I'm gonna try this with say Monday and Friday, right? So now I got a 3-day work week. That's that might work for me. Anyone out there listening, you might want to give that a try.
so I'm curious. Uh, you said that you told your project managers that. Do you have an executive team, or do you just have project managers and then your
Yeah, I don't.
electricians
Yeah,
and
it's there's no. That's it. We're not big to have like an executive team, and we're not Google over here.
yeah,
So
well, I was just curious because like right now you're the CEO, you're the chief marketing officer, you're like all the different executive titles that could be in an organization.
um,
Like
hmm,
you're wearing all those hats, whether you know it or not. And I know this because I am in my business too. you know,
yeah,
um, I have to think about okay, where I have to think about where the next client's coming from. Okay, how are we delivering on this stuff? Are we doing this right? Like I have to think about all that, and I'm also the one that's in the field because I don't have any employees. I'm the one who's doing all the stuff
yeah.
and
You're
thinking
doing
of all
you're
that together.
doing yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
I mean I think it's fair to say um I'm putting a team I'm putting everything together for the team.
right. So I think this is just my 2 cents, right? And I'm not saying this from experience. I'm saying this from what other people who have built
What you've
service-based,
heard. Sure.
who've built service-based businesses, um, and uh, and stepped away from them, and also were able to sell them, like what I've heard from them, right?
Yeah, this is exciting.
And so usually for a service-based business that was anywhere between 3 and 10 million in revenue, and
Hmm.
this is just from what they told me. Um, their main constraint at that point was not like getting new clients. It wasn't like all this other stuff. It was the executive team or the
Hmm.
lack thereof.
Yeah.
Because without the executive team, without basically you're empowering your project managers to make decisions on your behalf on Fridays. That's what you're doing right now, right? And so imagine if you had one individual, like one hire, that made all of the operational decisions for you every day and reported back to you, and you gave them the criteria to make those decisions.
Hmm. Yeah,
And then,
in theory,
right,
that's a good idea. In theory.
I know it sounds way simpler
Yeah.
than it actually is.
Yeah. In
Yeah.
theory, it's a great idea. However, um the no now this is from total experience from trying different avenues, right?
Hmm.
Nobody is going to run your business as good as you. Nobody.
Nope, they're not.
And
Um,
I think and even when like we've had some people try to fit that role, what happens is it almost, if you don't have that perfect person, and you can go through a lot of people. I'm not saying that that's not impossible to find. You could find somebody, but it takes a lot, and it could take a lot of people to find that right person.
Yeah.
So what happens is sometimes it creates twice as much work, believe it or not. But I know what you're saying. If you can find
Yeah.
that person that's you, great. As
See,
long as they're going to stay to that role and not
here's
say, "Hey, you know."
here's the thing that I also learned, not from my own experience, but just from talking with other people about this. It's like, yes, you're 100% correct. They are not going to run your business like you do, nor should they,
Right.
because like it's your
Exactly.
business, right?
Yeah.
Um, and here's the other thing that I learned that you could do to help with that, not you specifically, but anybody watching who's happens to be in this scenario, right? Um, or a scenario that's similar. Uh, I learned that, at least from what this one person has told me, is that whenever they were hiring executives like this, that that basically were making decisions that would affect the business, and like they would give them a stake in the business,
Mm.
so that it's like now we can expect you to actually operate as if this is a part of your thing, because they were getting like either stock options, or they were getting something where when the business grew
Yeah.
and was more effective and more profitable, so were they.
Yeah, your hard work's going to pay off.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
so, and that means that that's an expensive hire, and you got to like like the bottleneck for most companies that are already above 3 million in revenue per year is the talent. It's like
Hmm.
that's the next mountain to climb. It's like we can like zero in with a microscope on operations and try to fix little things and make marginal progress like over long periods of time, or it's finding the right talent, which is another hard mountain to climb. Of like everything that you said, you might bring people on, they're not going to be the right fit. You wasted all this time, money, energy training them. You let them go. You bring in another one. You do that over and over again until you
Mm.
find the right one. And then
Yeah.
it's like, then now you have more time back, and you actually have more time to be able to think about bringing in another piece of talent, another person for the operate, not the operational side, but maybe the sales side, and what you do to get contracts and bids, and all of this
Yeah.
stuff slowly kind of removes you from the business. At the same time, it also makes it um, a more attractive asset to be acquired if you are looking to sell long
Mm.
term. Because
Yeah.
if the business can run without you having to do anything in it for like a year straight,
Yeah.
that's a business that people want to buy. You
When
know,
companies now are buying other companies, they don't really even, they might want some of your clients, they want your people.
exactly.
That's what they want. That's the whole key right now to, when you're selling your business, they want your people. They don't want your clients. They've already built up their own clients. They want,
Right,
man, they want my electricians. You know what I mean?
right. And so having this executive team actually does make the acquisition a much it gives you more juice for the acquisition if you are planning on selling in the future. And that's because of what you just said, because those
Yeah.
executives, they are now part of that equation, you know.
Mm.
But anyways, I was just curious about that and wanted to see what you thought about it. I know that we went over on the time. I actually have another meeting that was supposed to start 4 minutes ago. I
Yeah.
just
All
I
right.
just started
Well,
from my
hey,
phone
you know
and it
what? We
wouldn't
hit a
work.
little, we hit on a little bit of things, you know. Um,
I think that I wanted to ask you about this though, because I think that it's a great example of a lot of times we make it sound like you identify what you need to do and then you just build your daily action steps and and do it. And it's very easy to say from the outside looking in on someone else's situation. It's
yeah.
like me saying, go find an executive to take care of your operations. Like
Yeah, yeah.
easiest thing in the world for me to say, right?
Yeah, yeah,
um, but at the same time, I think it's important to point out that like for all of us, no matter what, even when we can identify the thing that's the most effective to get us to where we want to go, it doesn't mean that putting the right foot forward in that direction won't be challenging. I think one thing that I like to think is that when I see that the road ahead, if I'm about to commit to a road and I see that like fuck this road looks challenging. Like
yeah,
it looks very tumultuous. There's just a lot of things and it's like now I know like that's that's where the growth is. Like that's why it looks
yeah,
like that, you know.
absolutely. And
Um
for all you people building businesses out there, I would say build a business and prepare yourself to sell it someday right out of the gate, because that makes a big difference. I always just built them. Hey, I'm just building this thing up. I never thought about leaving the business or selling the business, until, right? Until I was in the ninth inning, which is
mhm.
about now. But some people might say, hey, they might look at, oh, I got tons more to go. But I'm just saying, in general, don't, build your business with the idea that you're going to sell this thing. Build it so you can sell it, and build it so it doesn't need you. And I
Right.
think that's the secret of great entrepreneurship versus the way I did it. And I tell this to everybody. Don't drive the bus like I did. I had to make all the calls. I ran the business. I made all the decisions. Until recently, I started shifting that. About a year ago, I started shifting a lot of responsibility. But
Right.
I think that's the key. Don't drive the bus like I did, right? Meaning I had control over everything. Delegate it. Build your business so your business doesn't need you. And it's going to be a lot more profitable. And it's also going to be a lot more fun. And you're going to have a better product at the end of the day, in my opinion.
Right, right. And even if you don't plan on selling it, um, here's the other thing too that I've thought about when it comes to this, um, because I've hired like contractors and stuff like that. I don't have any right now, but I have, right? Where I had people doing stuff on social media for me and doing other things, just so I can buy some of my time back. Um, and one thing that I was like iffy on when it came to like making some hires to kind of remove myself from other parts of the business where I didn't need to be in the past was like, well, if I do that, like my net income is going to be lower, right? And
Mm,
it's the same thing for like hiring executives, right? If you like hire an executive that's like with net income is going to go down, right? Because you have this new payroll expense. Um, but the thing is, it's like if I am chief product officer, chief marketing officer, sales director, and CEO all wrapped into one. Well, of course, when I hire out one of those roles, the net income of the business is going to go down. Like, actually, the net income of the business is staying the same, not from an accounting standpoint, but like what I can put into
mm.
my account,
Yeah,
right?
your salary's going down. Sure.
Right, because I am no longer doing this role. Like somebody
Mm,
else is getting paid that now, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
and that's why it goes down. Um, from an accounting standpoint, of course, like the net income goes down because I wasn't
yeah.
paying myself all of those salaries anyways. Um, but the thing is, it's like if you build it like you know you're going to sell it from the get go, and I've learned this from other people because I've never sold a business. But like for example, this guy Alex Ramosi, I know you know who he is. Some other people might not. Um,
Mm,
they when he sold his gym launch business, um, he said he went to a bank because he didn't know anything about selling businesses. Had his business like evaluated and wanted to see like what he needed to do. to be able to sell it. And they basically gave him this huge laundry list of all these things that he had to do. And
Hmm.
basically, he had to remove himself from the entire business, right? Because he was like him and his wife were the ones that were like the executive officers. They had to replace themselves as all with all these other officers that didn't do the
Wow.
job as good as them, but
Yeah.
had to, right? Next, he had to remove himself from the ads because he was in all the ads, and so he had to like make it so that when they were running ads, it was somebody else who was talking on the ads, one of the employees of the business, not him, and transition to that. Also had to transition it so that he had a chief product officer because this was like a digital course type product, right? And he had to make it so that even in the course material that was being sold, it wasn't him. It was an employee of the business, whether it was the chief
Mm.
product officer or somebody who the chief product officer had hired, who was in the actual training material. And even when they held live events, he had to like transition himself so that they weren't going to them. It's like people were paying Gym Launch, this company, to help them grow their gyms, and and basically it took 2 years of all this work to make it so that the only part in the business that he had was the fact that he was had ownership and that the thing was running without him.
Yeah.
And the
Oh,
funny thing is, he said after doing that, after putting in all that love
mm.
and attention, it got him to the point where he's like was excited about it and didn't really want to sell it now because he just like changed all these things to make it that much more efficient, but
Yeah.
was doing it for the sale, you
And
know?
and now they don't need them, but yet I'm still capitalizing on it.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
everybody's dream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for my rant on that. I let my people know that I was a few minutes late, but
Yeah,
I should
there's some brilliant people out there. There's some of them who are actually good friends of mine, and we're gonna get them on, and we're gonna say, "Hey, how did you sell your business? What's it like?" You know, some knowledgeable people who have done it and are living it.
I think that's a great idea. Let us know
Yeah,
if you guys want us to have other people on. You're tired of
yeah,
seeing maybe you're tired of seeing Brian and I's face. You're like, I want the information, but damn, you guys' face, like it's there
yeah,
again. We'll get some fresh blood on here for you guys. I think that'd be really cool.
yeah. Right on. Hey, Ron, I know you got to run. Always a pleasure.
Always. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.